So hi everybody and welcome, and I'd like to introduce you to the amazing, wonderful, incredible, strong, miraculous Susan Bibby, one of my adored clients who has just been a powerhouse. I've got so much respect for you, Susan, with everything that you've done. And, you know, for me, the first time we jumped on a call together, you are just this person who was in shadow, who for me was really struggling minute to minute, and yet had this inner strength and courage to jump on a call and reach through all of that and say, hey, I need some help and support. Now, for me, that is the bravest, most courageous act you could ever do. I've got goosebumps. I remember that first call, and I just have so much respect and honor for you to be able to do that from the place that you were. Just incredible. So thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story about our little journey together. I'd love to hand over to you to just tell everybody what you'd like to share and how this sort of coaching relationship has impacted your life and experience and the life of your family.
Yeah, where do I start? Life is polar opposite to what it was prior. I was completely broken. I was desperate for change. I knew that everything needed to change in my world, and I knew that it was up to me to find the avenues and the supports and all of that to do that. Things couldn't stay the same, and I was completely exhausted, completely broken, completely just I knew that something had to change big time. So yeah, I was in a pretty desperate, horrific place. Like, I look back now and I can't even imagine the feelings of what it was like, because it's so different to what my life is now. It is so different. There was, it was just heavy, overwhelming. Yeah. And I didn't know how I'd find a way out.
And I know that we did some very deep, intense work together. And what I loved about you is you showed up with your heart open, with your mind open, with this a huge amount of trust and faith, which was a huge privilege for me. And, it's extraordinary because I know the impact of this work. And yet, we've always stayed in quite close contact. And every time you come through to me, you're shining and you're saying, this has happened and this has happened and this has shifted and this has changed. So really, from my perspective, this work impacted not just you, not just your family, but like every area of life. It's just like rippled through.
Yes. Yeah. My entire world looks and feels completely different. The girls are different. People that are coming into my world are different types of people and different values. It's like this heavy blanket has been lifted off, and there's this, freedom and confidence to step into things that I probably didn't have the confidence to before. But it's like, what was holding me back, what was dragging me down, is not having that same power anymore. Every single aspect of my world is different now. The way I move around, the way I, the choices I make for what I eat and what I drink, the way I speak to people, all of it is different, and it all feels different. It's just so vast.
Yeah. And what I love as well about certainly what you shared with me is that unapologetic insistence on boundaries now.
Yes.
So you've got this beautiful scaffold around you. It's non-negotiable. You sort of stepped into that I think it's like really stepping into the potentiality of who you could be. And that is never going to change. Like every time you step in, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And what I love is that self-awareness, that self-inner strength. And it feels like to me that your power was sort of fragmented outside of yourself. And through this, by showing up and doing the work, because if you hadn't shown up, this wouldn't have worked. You know, you really showed up, you really committed. And the results in, what did we have, like 4 sessions? I mean, it was like incredible, the results that you had, but because you went into it fully. And now what I love is that there's this just quiet, resilient confidence, that your whole aura is different, because you do value yourself now, and you value and trust yourself in your parenting, which is so important. And because you've been able to create that, your girls have now really started to thrive, because you are this incredible leader, modeling everything to them so exquisitely, showing up every day, doing your work, and they can step into that energy. And what a gift that is.
Yeah, that's wow. Hearing you say that, it's just like, wow. It is I think one of the most profound differences I can see in the girls is that they're able to make true connections with people now. So, you know, making real friends and developing friendships, and, you know, not being afraid of connection or fighting connection, and all, like, that has been the hugest change, is that security to be able to feel safe in making a connection.
Yeah.
Being allowed to have friends in our world, that's how it felt like we weren't allowed to have friends. So, you know, we were afraid of really connecting, or someone really, you know, being in that vulnerable space of knowing who we are. So that's what the girls were learning too. So now they're actually making friends, and like the difference that makes in how you feel your own self-worth, and how you feel you belong in your community. And it just, like, it's mind-boggling how different that makes life.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, so different. It's like, you know, trust. It's like trust. It's like trust is there. They trust that I can guide them, and, you know, if I trust somebody, they've learned to model that too. Yeah.
And what I love about that, and I'm gonna actually offer something in addition to that, is the trust piece is what you have done, which is the greatest gift you can give your kids, is you've broken generational cycles, and you have shown up so powerfully as their parent in trust of self, which is really the work that we did together, was to get you back in touch with yourself and trust yourself and your intuition and your instinct. And by modeling that, you give them permission to trust themselves.
Yeah.
So it's not even as easy as trusting somebody else. It's I trust myself to choose the right people for my experience. And because you're just shining that every day, like you are the epitome of a success story. Like, you are everything wrapped up. And what I love is that life still throws you hurdles, because that's life. Yes. But what happens is you're showing up from this such a deep, centered, powerful place of intuition and trust of self, that you're working through them so much quicker. And because you're showing up in this massive confidence and self-worth and a healthy self-love and respect, from what you've told me, the people in your experience have shifted to accommodate this new you as well, which has been quite extraordinary.
Yeah, it's almost like I know now beyond all certainty. Like, it's like beyond all certainty, I know now who I am, what I'm capable of, what my value is. And because of that, I don't second guess where I used to. I don't have that negative self-talk dragging me back down. I just know And because I just know, I'm more able to say no, I'm more able to say yes, I'm more able to say I can do this, or I can make this work, or whatever it needs to be, and I can put attention into this, and I'm not wasting any attention on that. And it's like I know myself so much more confidently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I can just stand in, this is who I am, warts and all. And that's okay, because who I am's pretty good. And I've worked hard to be who I am.
Yeah. What I love about everything you've said is, from our first conversation, everything seemed hopeless.
Yeah, totally.
Now, what you've done is you've created this incredible multitude of pathways for your girls.
Yes.
That they get to show up and they get to choose from life whatever they want, and have the confidence to do that. And, to really step into yourself. My passion is getting parents and their young people to step into that as soon as we possibly can, because it absolutely changes the trajectory of your life.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got 3 girls, and they all have autism. They all have ADHD. They have all had anxiety diagnoses. They've all had oppositional defiance disorder diagnoses. So, on paper, they are 3, very challenging, very hard to control girls. But in reality, they are highly intelligent, intuitive, highly spirited, fascinating miracles, who just have the capacity to grow and learn beyond, what anyone would expect.
Yeah.
And by, I suppose, me stepping into me, they're stepping into, well, it's okay to be me too. And it's okay for me to, show the world that I love ABC, and I love, whatever it is, like elephants, or, and to learn everything that's possible about elephants. And, the next week it might be the galaxy and stars. But it doesn't matter, because they are just so passionate about that, and allowing them to have that permission to be passionate about it. It just, you see them shine, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
I love that. And obviously my 5 children are also on the spectrum, so I totally relate to everything you're saying. They're definitely change makers, come to show us a different way. And when we approach them with that energy and that curiosity, it's a huge gift of education and learning, because my kids have taught me so much about the world. And what I love about all of this is, you're a parent, a warrior. You're raising these kids on your own. You've absolutely taken control, and you've become the leader that your girls deserved. You are that person now. And the ripple effect of everything that's happened from that point has been miraculous and gorgeous. And what makes me excited is that when we can have these sort of experiences with our kids who do have the extra challenges of being on the spectrum, it opens up so much possibility for kids who are facing challenges not necessarily related to being on the spectrum, but just general challenges in the life. The possibility is really limitless once you get these key things in place.
Yeah. And it's that, like that, what was it? There's a quote I'm thinking of. It's like, to know thyself is the beginning of wisdom. And it's like, the more I learn about myself and know myself and step into my truth, the more permission they have to learn about themselves too. It's like, they don't have to be a mini version of me. They don't have to be a mini version of, anyone else that expects them to be a certain way. They can just find out who they are. And that's where the magic is. Like, that's why they're here, and where the gifts will shine through. And that's just,
I love that.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, that my passion is creating this scaffold where everybody can turn up and amplify their unique parenting.
Yeah.
Because you are the perfect parent for those girls.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, and to be able to unlock, unleash, and amplify your unique parenting style for those girls has literally brought miracles into your lives.
Yeah. Oh yes, definitely.
You know, and so that's my biggest message out there is, there's a lot of advice out there, and some of it's really good advice for parents, you know, not to the detriment of being uniquely you, though.
Yes.
And I think that's so key.
I love that. And, you know, that circles back to, I'm going to talk about, so how long ago was it? 2009, I spoke at a conference. My background was I was a maternal child health nurse. 2009, I spoke at a conference that was all about diversity. And my key theme and take-home message for the audience was ask the family what makes them tick, what is their normal, what is their truth, and build your care around that. So, you know, it comes back down to that, you know, you are the right parent for your children. You know yourself and them best. It's all of that. It's that coming back to that key message of, you know, it's not copying someone else or doing some model or following some program. It's about being in tune.
Yeah.
And when you're in tune,
yeah,
then things start to flow, and things, you know, communication and connection really happens. And, you know, I mean, there's so many of us, and I'm a great example of that, of where parents didn't connect because they didn't have capacity to, because it was all about appearances and all about things having to look a certain way rather than how they actually were. And when you let go of what other people see, or what you expect other people to see, and just actually live in that moment and work on the true connection, that's when what's exposed to the world changes. And that's when the gold comes out. Like, that's when the magic, you start to see, you know, the beauty and the connection, and that, you know, that real sort of confidence in my girls. I'm just thinking of different examples of them sort of, you know, lighting up, because it's like, you actually see me, you really see me.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's when they start to grow. Yeah.
Yeah. And but here's the thing, it's as easy and as difficult as that.
Yeah.
Because we've been raised with so many societal expectations and conditioning and, you know, false truths that we've clung on to as reality, that actually having to sort of unlearn that is the first step, you know, really unlearning that and really coming home to self. And, you know, I often tell the story of our family is very quirky. And, you know, a lot of dynamics within my family, someone looking from the outside in who weren't privy to the million events that have led to that moment wouldn't understand the quirkiness of how we interact with each other. And we were walking through this mall one day, and the kids banter with me a lot, so they take the bicky out of me a lot. They tease me, and that's just fun. It's just great fun for us, and we deal with things, a lot of humor in our house, because otherwise things could get quite heavy at times. So we deal a lot of sort of what other people might think is inappropriate humor, but that's the way we deal with big feelings and big situations. And it's our sort of our doorway in to have those important conversations. And we were walking through the mall one day, and they were going, "Am I your favorite mum?" "No, I'm your favorite mum." "Mum, I'm your favorite auntie." "Mama, mama, mama." And this lady was watching us, and I said, "Darlings," I said, "you know perfectly well I dislike you all equally." And of course they fell into all of this laughter, and the woman looked at me horrified at what I'd said. But of course, for my kids, that was a little act of love. That was a tease. They know it's not true. They know that I adore them, all of the things. And of course they, you know, and the fact that the lady was so cross with me made them giggle even more. But I mean, it's having the confidence to be able to trust yourself so much as a parent, to know that that's okay. And if that person didn't understand it, that's okay too. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's all right. We're not going to feel offended, and, you know, it's cool. She'll work it out in her own time, or she won't, and that's not for us to own, you know. But to be able to be yourselves. And I love what you said about allowing your kids to just unfold and become who they're supposed to become, you know. And with that scaffolding of, I know that your girls are kind and they're respectful and they're hardworking and they're all of those beautiful things that are non-negotiable, and within that they get to blossom and bloom just exactly as they were supposed to, and that's such a gift.
It is. I mean, when I look back and imagine, I was going to say, my own childhood and being, you know, parented in a way where someone was present and able to see me, and I can just imagine how different my life would have been. And that's no detriment to my parents, because they had the capacity to do what they needed to do at the time. Like, you know, we're all learning and growing, and we all experience what we need to, you know, if they'd been any different, I wouldn't be who I am now, and I love
Exactly
who I am now, and that's because of what I've gone through and what I've learned, and, you know, all of those experiences build to that. So I'm not, you know, there's no judgment there. It's just about knowing that the magic that difference can make.
And, you know, we've had that conversation before. We say there's no guilt, shame, blame. You know, that's a paradigm of the past. It doesn't serve anybody. You know, if we turn up in curiosity instead of guilt, shame, blame, then it's so much more freeing to be able to work through things, and gives us the capacity to work through things so much more quickly. So if anybody was thinking about taking the next step and working with me and coming into the community, is there any guidance that you might give them?
Just do it. Like, trust. Absolutely trust. Like, there is, you don't even, there's no hesitation. Like, you know, do you want your world to change or not? Like, that's, you know, just step in completely in trust. Like, there's, you know, I know there was times where I was scared, but I also knew that without a doubt, everything had to change or nothing was going to change. So I needed to completely step into trusting the process, trusting your skills and experience, trusting that I had it within me to work through all of what I needed to do, and that life was going to, and it is better. Like, there's no question.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you for your trust and faith, because it is a real honor for me to hold that sacred space for you, and for all of my clients who have that leap of faith to come and work with me. It's a privilege. It's a real privilege and honor. So I really honor you. This whole thing, you've been an absolute hero. You're a warrior. You are extraordinary. And I'm so glad we're in each other's lives, and we will continue to be in each other's lives. And I always look forward to your updates, because they make my heart smile.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful for everything that you've offered me, taught me. Just, I feel very blessed.
Thank you. And thank you so much for coming on today. And I will speak to you very soon. Thank you so much, Susan.